Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Art in the Wild. Now, before I get too deep into this introduction, I do want to apologize briefly for my inactivity, both on the podcast but also my photography page. Life's just been super busy, and I've had a hard time even getting out to shoot. And when I do get out to shoot, I haven't been able to edit my images, so I have this whole stack of unedited files, and it's just this whole thing. But I've got a good episode for you guys today. I talked with Ash Farz. Now, Ash isn't his actual name. His real name is Sasha, but he goes by Ash. He's a 16-year-old wildlife photographer based in Montreal. He's been doing wildlife photography since the pandemic, so a good couple of years, and he shoots all kinds of wildlife, but mammals are his favorite. We talked about a lot of stuff in this episode. First half was mainly how he got into wildlife photography, what he shoots with, his recent trip to photograph shorebirds, stuff like that. And then the second half was about social media and how that impacts our view of photography and our work and stuff like that. It was a really good episode, and I hope you guys enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. We're back. It's been like a month and a half. It's been a long time. Sorry for the delay. I just had a bunch of life stuff pop up. I've just been really delayed on this, but also on Instagram. I've only posted like once or twice in the last month or so. But that ties in pretty good to what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about social media and how that kind of impacts wildlife photography. It's something I know I still struggle with, but I have struggled with a lot in the past. And I know a ton of people who struggle with it. And I'm going to be talking about that with Ash Farz today. Ash, how's it going? You doing good?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I am doing pretty good. I'm worked all day and now a little tired, but
Yeah.
it is what
But
I
I
need to
don't
get
have
out.
work anymore. Just quit.
Oh, you quit the arcade job?
Yeah.
Why? Dude, that
This is,
sounded
this is a
sick.
bad spot. That's a story for another day.
Different story. Okay, right, yeah. Dude, I need to get.
Yeah.
We're in that weird lull right now where all the shorebirds and the cool like summer stuff has left, but all the winter
Mm-hmm.
stuff hasn't come yet. So it's
Oh, dude,
just
it's cold.
it's cold by you?
It's really cold. It was like summer weather like a week ago,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
for like
same
two
here.
days straight now, I've been like hoodie weather, like
Mm-hmm.
multiple layers. It's still shaking. Like it's really cold.
It's been chill. Wait, so like how many degrees up there?
So we're in Celsius up here, so I don't know the Fahrenheit conversion,
Oh boy,
but we're at like
it's a test.
8 degrees Celsius. That's really cold.
8 degrees Celsius. I wish I could
Yeah,
just
I mean
convert
winter
that in
we go
my.
down. Winter we go down to -30. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
it's not
got
it's
you.
not that cold.
It's been
But
like 40s here. Not in Celsius, obviously in Fahrenheit.
yeah, okay, I think we're right about the same.
Yeah, yeah. It's been chilly. I could see my breath.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's awkward because the owls haven't come yet here. I don't know. You're further
Mm-hmm.
north than I am, so maybe they've started to come through,
I haven't
but
checked. I haven't checked, but maybe. Yeah.
yeah, we haven't really gotten them, so I can't photograph owls. I've decided I'm probably going to try and photograph more owls this winter because last two winters I really haven't. I've been focusing more on songbirds and shorebirds when I can and stuff, but I'm thinking about giving it another crack this year, but they're not here yet really. I mean, they're here kind of, but not quite. And then all the warblers and plovers and all that have left. So it's like a house sparrow probably around somewhere, and
Yeah.
that's
That's
pretty much
about it. Yeah.
that's all I have to work with. There's been some coyotes. I've been trying to. I got a glimpse of one recently, but aside from that, it's been slow. Have you been doing any shooting recently? You got any shots you like?
So I was scouting around my area for shorebirds,
Yeah.
but this year the flooding has been awful. Like the whole
Hmm.
island of Montreal, like almost no shores.
Yeah.
So I've been resorting to going like an hour 30 drive, but I can't
Hmm.
drive yet, so I have to convince my mom every time.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
And you know
Convincing the
what?
parents. Yeah.
I convinced her twice,
Hmm.
and man, my camera just lets me down. It's so demotivating.
Oof. What?
But
How'd it let you
I
down?
still came home with good shots.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I went down with Lori as well once. That was pretty
Hmm.
fun.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, so a lot of shorbs
Hmm.
and nothing else. I went to my local spot the other day, saw a belted kingfisher and a Cooper's hawk
Oh,
fight.
I
That was
hate
really cool.
kingfishers, bro. I cannot. You
Dude.
said a belted kingfisher and a Cooper's hawk fought? Like,
Yep. Yeah, they fought
really?
like really quickly. I didn't have time to get a shot off.
Huh. Was it more
And
just like,
that's it.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, you're good. It was like they were just like one was fishing, and then as he dove, the Coopers like swooped on him,
Oh, no kidding. So it was
and
trying to like prey on the fisher?
yeah, I guess
Oh,
so. I didn't get a good look, and then they both flew off,
that's crazy.
and
Yeah.
like, dude, it's just dead. Not even a mallard, nothing.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I exaggerated when I said I hate kingfishers, but man,
They're
they're
so.
so skittish for no reason. It's ridiculous. I
I
was
know.
photographing loons out in New Hampshire earlier this summer, and this kingfisher landed on these rocks, and it was like shaded background, direct light on the rocks, early morning. It would have been sweet. 250 yards away. Like this is really far away. So I do a couple strong paddles in its direction, and I just basically let the kayak float towards it 200 yards out. And I would do a very quiet, slow, gentle paddle here and there to try and kind of close the distance. And it flew out like 150 yards away. Uh,
It's
what?
crazy.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
know.
Yeah, it's been rough. But speaking of animals and animal encounters and stuff, you're a wildlife photographer. What was the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
kind of encounter with a wild animal that really
All right.
got you into wildlife photography and stuff?
Very, very first encounter.
Yes.
Using my sister's camera,
Yeah.
I live down, there's a forest near me. I've been
Hmm.
going since I was a kid. Never
Yeah.
seen much, but
Hmm.
hey, I picked up the camera. I was like, what, 12 at the time? Pandemic just started. And I had no school. We walked down there, and all we find are garter snakes. Keep in mind, it's like harsh light. It's a
Hmm.
really bad lens. I have no
Yeah.
idea what I'm doing. And I pulled off some 16 millimeter like headshots of garter snakes.
Yeah.
And bro, that just hooked me. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, I love animals, and this is fun. No more than a month later, I bought my first my telephoto lens. It was a
Yeah.
55 to 210.
Hmm.
It was
That's not
awful,
bad.
but I got it for like
Well.
$100.
Hmm.
I mean, you start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Went back to
Yeah.
that same forest, and I got a frame filling pillated woodpecker eye level at
Bro,
200 mil.
that's
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah.
That's one
And
way to start.
I feel like if anyone had that to start, they'd be hooked as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
then along the years, you learn, you pick up, and then
So you
still
started.
doing it now.
Yeah. You started in the pandemic then.
Yep, yep. As
Yeah.
soon as it hit us, yep.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that just started around the pandemic. That was wild. I don't want to go on a too bad of a tangent, but the whole pandemic was crazy, man. It was like, I don't, what did you do during the pandemic when that was going down?
Dude, I still had like in-person school. I only had like a
No
month or two
way.
of online.
What? Are
Yeah,
you
it didn't hit us
serious?
that hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
What?
mean, we got COVID, but
Yeah.
it was like when everything died down. Like we got it out of nowhere and no one
Hmm.
had it. Like it was weird. And yeah, my parents were, they're much older and they actually got pretty sick. I had like the worst fever ever,
Hmm.
and then I got through it in like a day.
Man, I'm still COVID free to this day. I've never gotten it that I know of. I
I gotten it
did.
once.
You got it once. Okay, I got you. I
Yes.
got nailed by something 2 months before COVID came through. So this was like January 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fell asleep on the floor in my computer class, wiped out, just like passed out. And I mean, I was messed up, seriously. Because I was like sitting with my friends. I was sitting next to their desk because we were just kind of hanging out in the class. It was more of a chill day. I fell asleep, and the teacher's like, "You got to go to the nurse." So I went to the nurse, fell asleep on the bench there, went home. This was 11th grade. Went home, and then I slept for like 14 hours a day, 3 days in a row, and then woke up. So no one knew what that was. No one really knew what COVID was at that time. And then COVID just came around, and we got shut down from March all the way until into the next year. So we didn't have in-person school into the next year, pretty much.
Oh, actually, yeah, now that you remind me. Funny you say you were like sleeping a lot, because when I had
Yeah.
COVID, I slept for like 30 hours straight. I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
believe my
crazy.
mom. She's like, "Oh, it's been 2 days. Like, look at your calendar. Like, you went to bed on the like 22nd and
Bro,
woke up on
time
the
traveled.
24th." Yeah, exactly. And dude, now that you mention it though, my freshman year, I did have like 6 months of online. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, but it was freshman. You don't learn much.
yeah, honestly. Well, I remember it was funny because I was 11th grade, and my science teacher 2 weeks before, I'm gonna try and wrap this up because this is way too much of a tangent. But my science teacher, like 2 weeks before, like week and a half before everything shut down, she goes, "We're not even gonna get a day off." She's like, "This is not gonna affect us." Blah blah blah. She was like insistent, 100%. So I'm like, okay. Week later, shuts down for 2 weeks in quotation marks, and we go home, and then it was like 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks, and then 6 weeks, and then on and on and on until the school year ended.
Yeah.
And the science teacher, she wasn't prepared at all, so we just didn't have science class for the rest of the year. Like it was a joke. Like all of school was the Wild West. There was nothing worked. Nothing. There was no classes that were functional. Assignments were barely being handed out. I remember all I did during that time, because my parents were like super paranoid about it, so we like stayed in the house. We didn't even go grocery shopping. We had like groceries delivered, and then did like these like sanitize all the groceries, like crazy stuff. And I remember I spent like 3 months straight just playing Halo 5 in the house and eating pizza. That's all I did for 3 months. It was crazy. Yeah, that was wild. But I know a lot of people that started during the pandemic, and it seems like that cohort of people kind of learned really well through social media and are pretty good wildlife photographers now.
Um, Dude, yeah, like a lot of people started at the same time as me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of
Tons.
any off the top of my
I think
head, but I'm pretty
Elliot.
sure, like, Karim.
Yeah.
Elliot, Karim, yeah.
I think Elliot might have.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And wait, so when you started though with your sister's camera, what camera was this?
A5000 with the
Mm-hmm.
kit lens.
With the kit lens. Okay.
It has no viewfinder, so good
Oh.
luck shooting in the light. Yeah, good luck shooting in the light. I can't see my screen, nothing.
Oh, so it's a screen?
And
Okay. All right.
and with my 55 to 200, once I bought that,
Mm-hmm.
the focus was so slow and bad. I have a single point, right?
Yeah.
So it only has to look at that point, nothing else. And I
Mm-hmm.
hold down the focus button 5 seconds and
5.
pray it doesn't miss. Because if it
Dude,
misses, I gotta hold it down for another 5 seconds.
sounds like the perfect setup for warblers, man. It's just
Dude,
perfect.
I didn't even know what a warbler was.
No, honestly, I didn't know what a warbler was until like 2 years after I started wildlife photography.
Yeah, exactly.
What gear do you have now? What are you shooting with?
I'm shooting the A6400 with a 100 to 400 Sigma,
Mm-hmm.
and I just picked up the 200 to 600.
Yeah.
And when I did that, right, I had my A6400 sensor cleaned,
Uh-huh.
and then they gave it back to me broken. And
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
remember
dude, I've
that.
had this
Yeah.
camera for like, yeah, I've had
A
this camera for like
day.
3 years.
Fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna tell me like, oh, it's a coincidence, dude. You got it cleaned, and now the sensor specifically isn't like, it's broken. So
Yeah.
I went through this like a few months back and forth with the A7 IV,
Mhm.
which was the camera I anticipated buying afterwards.
Yeah.
But man, that was a deceiving camera. It was not that good.
Really?
Like
I thought you
AF
liked it.
was, man, it made some good looking pictures, but the AF was missing, and
Yeah.
um the dials and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I made some of my best pictures, and it's definitely better, but for
Mm-hmm.
the price, not worth.
Not worth it? All right, bet I'll
So
keep that in
big
mind.
regrets on my part, man. That lens, a lot of money down the drain.
So wait,
So
the lens. So the camera broke. What happened with the
mhm.
lens?
No, so the lens I kept because I fully bought it,
Yeah.
and I got to try it with the A7 IV.
Uh-huh.
So I basically got to try out my dream affordable setup
Yeah.
before fully buying it, and I had some really good testing, consistent shooting. This was during my trip up north
Yeah.
in summer,
Mhm.
so I had like all the time in the world to test it, and dude, the hit rate was awful. Like on a like
The zero.
$8,000 setup, I was getting
That's
like a
crazy.
20% hit rate at best.
Oof. So is there no like AI autofocus, like eye autofocus and animal
There
tracking
was,
stuff?
but it's
Just
I
garbage, like,
had, yeah, false
huh?
positives all the time,
No
all
kidding.
the time. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, the 200/600, the focus ring on that is smooth. It's like butter.
it's
At
so
least
creamy, dude. The lens is
yeah.
good. It hurts to like have to sell and switch the Canon,
Uh-huh.
because really, if the A7 IV wasn't so deceiving, I'd stick with Sony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Should go to Nikon, man. That's what I'm
nah.
saying. Yeah.
I mean, you have good glass. You have good glass.
Yeah.
At work, I tried the Z6 II,
Uh-huh. Oh,
and
the focus on that
it's a
is
joke.
garbage.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a joke.
no, but apparently, so have you heard of the ZF, man?
No, I've not. I have
So
not.
okay, neither had I. So I'm in this this sounds like a sidetrack, but it's gonna make sense in a second. I'm hanging at this gallery up in Maine, and my mom is also hanging there. She's a photographer as well. And then the owner of the gallery and my mom have been running this monthly thing where it's like a monthly community gallery where photographers can come in and temporarily put a piece of work up for a month, right?
Mm.
And the last one they did, they had a Nikon rep come in. So we worked with Hunts to have that happen. Shout out to Gary. But we worked with Nikon came in with a whole table of gear. And this was Saturday night. They had Z9, Z8, the new 180 to 600, all the glass, like crazy stuff. And we were able to just run around the room and just test all of it out. And the ZF, so someone just points out to me, like, oh, have you heard of this? And it looks like this old film camera. It looks like trash. I don't like how it looks, but it's sitting there and I pick it up. It's a Nikon camera, 24 megapixels, Z9 and Z8 autofocusing system. So eye auto tracking, everything, right? 24 megs,
Yeah,
only
top
like,
of the line.
and same weather ceiling as the Z8 for $2,000. Like, that's basically a
That's
Z6 III. That's like a
and
Z6
that
III.
just sounds like the R6 II actually that I'm
It's
looking to buy.
yeah, it's like a Nikon version of it, which is what I've been waiting for, which is what everyone's been waiting
Mm-hmm.
for, and
Mm-hmm.
no one's heard of this little rinky-dink camera. And I'm like, dude, this is the issue is because of the grip. Apparently, is pretty bad. I didn't get to test it that long. It felt fine to me, but it's a really weird looking camera. Like if you look it up after, it looks like a film camera. It looks very weird, but the weather sealing is on par with the Z8. The focusing system is just as good. It like the Z6
Yeah.
III, I've been waiting for the Z6 III to come out. If that comes out and it's even more than 500, more than the ZF, I'll probably just get a ZF. Cause like, yeah, and I just,
Yeah, you could.
it's like, I've been waiting for that for so long, yeah, but it sucks to hear all about your camera and your lens issue, you know?
Yeah, I mean, not having a job is the worst part of it all because now I have to
Yeah.
save up without making money.
Oh,
And
that's,
that's not fun, but I'm looking at the R6 II, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
exactly on the trip, Alex,
Hmm.
Canon, he basically owns everything, right?
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
casually lends me his R6 II and 100 to 400 the
Yeah.
f8 one,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then the
yeah.
800 f5.6. Okay, I didn't get to try that one too much because
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, it's like way too big and heavy for me.
Uh-huh.
It's,
Yeah.
it's awkward to use. I'm a small dude.
Hmm.
But then I tried the 135 f1.8.
Yeah.
Dude,
Nice.
wow.
It's good.
Yes, very nice.
That's sweet.
So I kind of just stuck with that and had to test the AI like IAF and stuff.
Yeah.
And it does not disappoint. Like 95% hit rate. I don't have to worry about the focus anymore. I just have
Mhm.
to compose, and it's more about choosing the right pose rather than choosing which shot is sharp.
Yeah, no, Canon
It just
definitely
makes it
does it
easier.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, no, the R6, I mean, Canon was kind of crushing the game. I mean, Sony came out with the A1 and then, but Nikon was lagging behind for so long. So like looking with your gear and, all the stuff we've talked about so far, how is that like affecting your style? And what is your style of photography? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, damn. Tough one.
Mhm. I know it's tough. People ask me this all the time, and I'm like, I don't know, but I thought I'd throw that
Yeah.
out there.
Huh. I guess I try to. I'm really basic. I go for like those clean shots,
Yeah.
but those are the ones you see.
Hmm.
Behind the scenes, I'm always trying these really I want to say creative, but
Hmm.
like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that creative. And
Yeah.
those they never work out, you know. But I'd say my style would be clean,
Hmm.
clean and like simple, and less portraiture. I'm straying away from the tight close-ups.
So
I
more
don't know if
like
you've noticed.
environmental,
I hate that word,
not
man.
environmental. I
So
mean like
like
environmental portrait. Kind of
no,
like
I know,
not
but it's
small
so
and
like
frank.
oh, I'm trying to be different,
Yeah,
those are the
yeah.
vibes I'm getting.
Dude, I don't shoot portraits.
Um,
I'm just better than everybody else. I just shoot
exactly.
environmentals. No,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, clean, stuff like that, solid. You do a good job at it. You should post some of
Thank you,
your
thank you.
creative ones.
Dude, okay, so this is one shot I've been trying to go for.
Hmm.
It's no longer possible. There's too much wind and no more spiders are out. It's
Yeah.
long exposure of a spider web backlit, so you get the silhouette on a
Hmm.
dark background of the spider web and the spider
Oh yeah.
with car trails on the side.
Oh, that'd
right?
be sick.
Sounds doable. That's pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
Good luck
yeah.
finding a spot. I can't find any spot where there's no wind.
Skill
Because
issue.
if your exposure is like half a second and there's
Yeah.
just one gust of wind, you're done for.
Well, with the car, that's probably an issue because the cars are probably causing airflow, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I found so many spots, right? But they're
Uh-huh.
like 10 feet up. No one's tall enough. Like
Just
it's
step ladder.
unshootable.
Climb up a tree.
Yeah. I was tempted once, but I don't know. It never came. Like it never happened. So I'm
It'll
gonna have to
work
wait
out.
till like next year.
Yeah,
And then
you'll
I had
get
this
it.
other shot. I mean that ring build goal against the sky. Wow.
Mhm.
First try. I got home. I'm like, oh, look at the clouds. I remember like I forgot their name. It's like Zaitwee's art or something.
Oh, yeah, they're great, man.
Yeah, they're so good.
It's so
And I
good.
saw their shot, and I'm like, oh, this seems like their type of shot I just recently saw.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like one funnel of light, one build goal. I'm
Hmm.
literally home. Like I was coming back from a shooting.
Yeah.
He flies perfectly, like right there. And
Oh.
if I didn't have the A7 IV, I would have missed the shot. Like for sure.
Hmm.
So, you know, I clown on its AF, but it saved me one of my favorite shots ever. In fact, I have it printed on my wall right now.
That's sweet. That's
Very few
awesome.
shots, yeah.
Yeah,
And I had another creative-ish shot. It's at my short spot that I have to
the
climb
turtle,
up to.
right?
No, actually, no.
Well, the turtle
And
counts though too.
okay, yeah, I guess you count that as creative, but
Yeah,
it's just
a little bit.
silhouette.
Hmm.
And it was the short spot, man. I have like 600-ish seagulls. Okay, wait, I'm pushing it. It's like 200 probably.
Hmm.
And they all flew off at once. And the sky had like that perfect gradient. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Like purple, pink,
Hmm.
blue. You
It's
know.
so nice. Yeah.
So I tried to do a long exposure, but I had the wrong lens on. And
Hmm.
crop body plus the 200, 600. I was at
Hmm.
300 mil, like least zoomed in.
Yeah.
It was not wide enough, man. I missed an incredible shot. It was
Oh,
beautiful.
that's rough. Yeah, that gradient is really nice, but it's hard to get. I was able to get it with some turns this summer. I might post the shots. I'm not sure. It's so smooth when it works out.
Yeah.
Speaking of terns and shorebirds and stuff, you keep mentioning this trip you went on, and you've been telling me you have all these fun stories, but you haven't told me any of them yet. So I'm
Okay.
excited to hear about this. So how was that trip?
It was great. It was fun. Probably the more like productive of the trips because I've done another trip like up north for
Mhm.
warblers. That was a total fail, but it was fun as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really fun actually. But this short trip, man, I it was fun and successful. So we head up to Oshawa. Karim picks me up.
Hmm.
And then we meet up with Jack.
Yeah.
And then we head to our Airbnb. We stay there one night.
Hmm.
And then Alex comes to meet us up the next day, right?
Hmm.
But on that night, the like layover night where Alex isn't there yet,
Yeah.
we unpack our stuff and then we go for a walk. This is the same day I had like a driving test,
Hmm.
so I was literally sitting on a Zoom meeting for 2 hours and it never happened. I just waited for my exam and it never happened,
It just
and
didn't.
I was
It just.
like, shit, man, I missed the sunset for this and I didn't get anything.
Hmm.
And I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's take like a midnight walk or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do that. And we're about to head back, and I'm like, oh, maybe we should shoot something, find some spiders, you know. I always have that idea in the back of my
Hmm.
head.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I see my first fox in like over a year.
Oh,
He
really?
just shows up the moment I said that. Everyone like gasps.
Hmm.
And Jack is like, okay, I'll stay with the fox. He's tame. And you two run off. Go get my camera. We're like a kilometer away from the Airbnb ish.
Yeah.
So we're like sprinting. It's
Uh-huh.
like really dark. And we come back and the fox is gone. But guess what we find?
What'd you find?
Two skunks.
Really?
Two skunks. And
Hmm.
it was really dark at that time. And I had the 100 to 400 attached.
Yeah.
And I accidentally got a really, really nice shot, and it's overexposed.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just
damn.
an eventful night because I hadn't seen a fox, and they're my favorite.
Hmm.
And we end up getting some pretty cool shots.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was the first night.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the following morning, we head out to the shore spot for the first time.
Hmm.
It got a little bit complicated. We didn't know where to meet. We don't know where the shores are,
Yeah.
and we find the beach point, and this is the first time I was testing the new gear. Alex is showing me how to use the camera and stuff.
Hmm.
So I kind of slacked off that first day.
Yeah,
And I was really approaching them wrong. I kept flushing them and I felt so bad.
yeah. Yeah.
But then that same day, it's sunny. We had the best conditions like the whole weekend.
Hmm.
So that same day, we come back at sunset, and this time I commit to the 100 to 400,
Yeah.
and I got this like black-bellied plover with splashes, right?
Hmm.
It was like overcast, and that lens is at f8,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the smoothest shot. It was cool.
Hmm.
And then we keep trying more gear, and then we land on the 135
Hmm.
f1.8, and I fell in love, man.
Yeah.
I
It's nice.
committed to that lens, and yeah, I got like some small and frame stuff.
Hmm.
I also got a lot of portraiture with it, and wow,
Yeah.
great lens. I got some cool shots.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And this is where the growth story comes in.
Uh-oh.
So the Schwarbs aren't insanely tame like my spot that I have to drive up to near Montreal.
Hmm.
The Oshawa spot, they're not that tame.
Oh, really?
So you lay down there, and it's in Schwarb grease. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like
Wait. Let's
inches deep,
define
right?
shorb grease for the people who are watching who are unaware
Okay.
of shorb grease.
I'm not sure what it's made of. Do you know what it's made of?
No idea. I don't have shorb grease. I have a nice sandy beach that's perfectly awesome. So I don't
You're
have to worry.
lucky.
Yeah,
You're lucky.
I don't have to
I
worry
don't know
about
what it
this.
is. I usually don't see it. Like at my spot, I don't see it.
Yeah.
But it smells. It's not awful. Like I've had worse smelling stuff in nature.
Yeah.
But dude, you have your elbows in it. It's basically, I think it's a buildup of bird poo and everything in the water that just washes up,
That's
and
disgusting.
seaweeds all compressed,
Uh-huh.
and it's a mushy, sloppy substance. Like you walk around in it, and it does like a splish splash, and you put your elbows in it, and you just sink. You keep sinking. It never ends. It's like several inches.
Yeah.
And I remember Alex was like so like crawled into it.
Hmm.
His beard was like dipping in it. Ugh, that was so nasty.
That's rough.
So once you're in there, you're like, I'm dirty as hell. Like I'm not gonna move, whatever, except the feet. Don't
Hmm.
move. Let the shorps come to you.
Yeah.
So we're me, Jack, and Alex lined up in the shorp grease.
Hmm.
Jack mentions he has to pee, right? And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I also have to pee. And Alex is like, dude, me too. And we're like, we can't move. And I'm like, dude, I can't flush them again, man. I've flushed them for you guys like twice now.
Yeah.
You know where this is going, right?
Yeah, I have an idea.
Yeah, yeah. Jack goes, if I pee, no, he goes, if you pee, I'll pee. And Alex is like, I'll do that too.
Oh,
It happened, man. We were just like shooting and peeing at the same time, and I actually got the best shot while taking a leak.
that's
Yeah,
that's rough.
yeah. That is the absolute grossest thing. And I shit you not, we shared the shower at the B&B, but
Uh-huh.
we had to fight for the shower.
Yeah. Short grease, man. Yeah, my beach is
Oh, that
perfectly
alone
smooth.
was disgusting. Imagine just adding.
That yeah, no, that's
Ugh.
rough. I
No details, no details.
I dude, my beach is like perfectly smooth sand, so comfortable. It's amazing. I'm
Oh,
just
stop
rubbing
it.
it in your face. I like
Yeah, yeah,
dude,
yeah.
whenever Alex talks about a shorb spot, I always make it a point to just point out how awesome my shorb spot is. I don't know if I'll ever go to
Yeah.
Alex's shorb spot because it sounds horrific.
It's
Just
actually pretty good. Like he has pebbles. They're not sharp like up north where I went in
oh yeah.
summer. So your
Mhm.
elbows don't bleed. They just hurt. It's like
Still bad though.
it's like no, it could be worse.
Could be worse,
And
yeah.
yeah, so we kept switching through short spots because they land on different points,
Hmm.
back and forth. And
Yeah.
there was hunters on one of the mornings,
Hmm.
and I remember, they were shooting and they flushed everything, right? So
Yeah.
we're like, okay, what are they shooting at? We can stand now, whatever.
Hmm.
And they took like 8 shots, man. They were shooting some duck. It wouldn't die, I guess, or they
Damn.
were just a bad shot.
Yeah.
Karim takes a picture, zooms in. There's a canvas back and a redhead, which are both lifers for us.
Oof.
Yeah,
Jeez. For all of you, even
because
Alex?
no, no, Alex definitely saw some. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
For
Okay.
me, definitely lifer. And man, that was sad. Like I don't, at the sea, it gets shot like several times, and it just wasn't dying.
Man, and this was what was this? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
I have no idea how duck hunting seasons work. That's rough, man.
Me neither.
I've
That's the first time I saw hunters like in the field. Like
that's the
I'm
first time you
in
ever seen hunters.
Montreal. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I don't see hunters in Montreal.
at my
You're
spot.
usually sorry. You're usually just not allowed, or they're already hidden, so I don't get to
Yeah.
see them.
So at my spot, we get a lot of the winter ducks here. So
Mhm.
eiders, harlequins, that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
if you're on the beach looking for snowy owls here or looking, we do have some overwintering shorebirds, but mainly just like Dunlin and Sanderling. But if you're on the beaches, the hunters will be out there in like blind boats and just constantly going on with shotguns and stuff. I don't actually know. They'll have like eider decoys. I don't know what they're actually hunting, but I see them. One time I was with Felix at one of the spots where I photographed coyotes, and we had just seen like 3 or 4 coyotes on the dune side, more towards the ocean. And then we were driving on the road at this park that I'm at, that I do most of my shooting at. And there was this guy, this hunter, just sitting like 50 feet off the road in the open in the grass. So we pull over, we're like, dude, what are you doing? Because you're not supposed to be off trail. I don't know if there's different rules for hunters or whatever. He goes, well, I was hunting for coyotes before you guys showed up. I was like, bro, like, dude,
Can
you're
you
not.
wait? Can you even hunt coyote?
Oh yeah, they you can hunt. Yeah, yeah. I think in most, I mean, a lot. I'm not super familiar with the legislation, especially for Massachusetts, but I think like there's like states where it's like an all year bag limit. I mean, no all year hunting with no bag limit at all. Like you could just like constantly all year just find and hunt coyotes the entire year.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. But at this spot, I think it was archery hunting for him. But it's funny because we had just seen like 4 coyotes on the like not even 200 yards from him, and we're like, he's like, I was hunting them before you came up, and I was like, okay, well, have a good day. We didn't tell him where the other ones were or where they were headed, of course. But I still see tons of
Yeah.
coyotes there to this day. That's where I got all of my shots last year in the fall. We had the
Mhm.
the pups that were just like coming from the den, and they were just they'd walk right by you on a trail. They just did not care. It was the craziest thing. But did anything else happen on your trip, or was that kind of the extent? Like, what were the shots, your favorite shots that you got when you were there?
Okay, so definitely I got this like after it was like 30 minutes after sunset,
Mm-hmm.
which, impossible to ever even think about shooting with my gear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I kept shooting with the f1.8, and
That's crazy.
this bird came right in. There's a like a purple to blue gradient in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot tell it's blue hour. But
Really?
I was laying for so long that they came pretty close,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sharp. It's just really sharp. Like I'm picking on sharpness, but like 30 minutes after sunset and that sharp,
Yeah.
that's like an achievement, I feel like, for me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. That's
And then
that's
I got a
so
lot
awesome.
that I had this one Lee sandpiper that wasn't it wasn't a Lee, sorry. It was a semi palmated.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day we saw him. He was injured, like in the chest area.
Yeah.
So he could walk fine, fly fine, but you could tell him apart from the others.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he just ran between us in the shrub grease and crossed to the pebble side. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, this is the first time there's a shrub on that side. Yeah, I'm wasting some good backlighting for some front lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should regret that or not, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like on the side of the beach with the water. And I'm like, perfect. I'll get the water, which is bluer,
Mm-hmm.
with the golden sand from the morning lighting.
Yeah.
But no, joke's on me. He never faced the water. So I'm always like wrongfully composed.
Oof.
And the
Yeah.
one time he faced the water, which I posted the shot,
Mm-hmm.
of course he was like insanely far, right?
Yeah. 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 I
But
got you.
eventually I got way closer. So I got portraits with the 135,
Mm-hmm.
but no water. So I might post them eventually. There's like some crazy bokeh.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
those are probably my favorite shots as well. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm surprised the shorebirds aren't chill. I don't think I've ever really like if you lay down, would they walk right
No,
up
no,
to
they're
you?
chill. If you lay down, they're really chill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. No, I have the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
but like nothing like my spot in Quebec.
yeah.
In chillness wise,
Hmm.
because dude, that spot I was shooting a 16 mil, and like, dude, it was like they were really close,
That's so
and
cool. Yeah.
the ones up there, you walk behind them,
Hmm.
and they don't run away from you. It's like they're
Really.
too tame. Like they forget to face you. They don't pay attention to you.
Yeah.
and it's like you gotta like chase after them. It's almost like too tame.
How close are
But
you
that
able to
spot's way
walk to?
less. I'd say like 6 feet before they walk
Really?
off.
And that's just
Yeah,
walking.
it
That's
depends
not
how you
crawling.
approach them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just standing, literally standing. You could get really
Huh.
close. Depends which ones though. The black
Mhm.
belly plovers are super skittish.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
just a universal theme with black bellies. That's
yeah.
what I've heard. I don't have a ton of experience with them. My shorebirds at my spot, the plovers and the sandpipers change. I mean, some are more chill, some you can walk closer to. I find if there's a lot of people on the beach, they just don't really tolerate it at all. That's just from my individual experience. But the terns won't let me walk close to them at all, like maybe 40, 50 feet.
Oh,
Um, but if you crawl up, I was able to get up to a turn. That one shot I have of a least turn with the massive bokeh ball next to it. I
mm-hmm.
crawled up minimum focusing distance to it after like 25 minutes of like inchworm crawling across the sand.
Yeah, yeah,
They're just, but like, yeah, it's kind of the same deal. They're not super chill if you're just walking up to them.
yeah. I never see turns landed anyways. I saw one once, and it was like a
Hmm.
young one,
Yeah.
and he landed next to me. Like I was already sitting still for shorebirds,
Yeah.
and it landed. So I was like, oh shit, like kind of came up to me instead of the other way around.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the last thing I'll mention about the trip is we stopped at this Presqu'île Provincial Park. Paige works there
Oh,
actually.
yeah. Yeah. No,
We
I know
didn't
what
see
you're talking
her.
about. Hmm.
Yeah, we didn't see her, but yeah, we know she works there.
Yeah.
And there's this like little area where you could walk across
Hmm.
this lake thing, river, sorry. It's an
Yeah.
island. And when I tell you there was a lot of what are they called? Pipits, right?
Really? Yeah.
Is that what they're called? We call them
Pivots?
songpipers, because they're like songbirds, but they're also sandpipers.
Yeah, I think you're
They're
thinking of the
pipits,
right
right?
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, crazy, like 300, 400 of them.
Really?
And yeah, on the way they were messing around shooting those goofy reels or whatever, like
Hmm.
pointing the
Yeah.
camera the wrong way, acting all
Oh,
dramatic.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
And you got to walk in the water, and we had like water up to like our chest almost at one point.
That
So
sounds cold.
I don't know, it's fun experience. No, I had my waders on. It was a
Oh,
warm
okay.
day,
Oh, nice.
midday,
Yeah.
harsh light, so I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
But I was having really bad migraine because this was the day of the road trip. It's like a
Hmm.
5 hour drive from my house.
Okay.
So
All
by
right.
then it was midday. I was exhausted, and we just crossed the island, and we did a whole loop of the island. And they found some shorebs, and I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna just lay down.
Yeah.
I fell asleep on the beach, and I woke up to them at my feet. Yeah,
The shorebirds?
that's pretty fun. Yeah, the shorebirds were at my feet.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was
Important
really
question
cool.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of came out of Alex's podcast, that I went on with him recently, but is a tern a shorebird?
Yes.
No, that's the wrong answer, bro.
Why not?
It's a seabird, man. I'm ending the call right now. No,
I
I
feel like you're
remember.
asking the wrong guy. I
I,
know nothing about birds. I'm strictly a photographer.
well, okay. Whether
And
or
I see
not
them on the shore, so it's a shorebird.
No, so here's
No?
I on Alex's podcast, we had a quote unquote debate about this where I just said science was fake and that I'm right. But basically my thought process was it's like a seagull. Oh, I just made all the birders mad when I said that. But it's like a gull, right? It
Yeah.
flies around. It's not like a little plover thingy. This is not like actually scientific or taxonomical at all. I remember Alex, there's like a specific, cardriiforms or whatever, a group of birds that are
Yeah.
considered
Family, yeah.
shorebirds. But the issue is, so terns are included in that, but also our puffins are as well. So if you're going to use that scientific argument, you also have to uh accept the point that puffins are shorebirds essentially, which I
Okay, see,
refuse to
that
do.
doesn't sit right with me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So I think science
That
is
doesn't sit
fake,
right with me.
and the only thing I consider shorebirds are the little, what I'm talking about, like the plovers and
Yeah.
sandpipers, the ones that walk around and pick at the sand and the food. That's my definition. And then there's some ones like I think well, it's weird because I kind of considered rails to kind of be them as well. Yeah, I don't consider waders. I don't know what your thoughts on waders are, like herons and bitterns and stuff. I'd say no.
No.
Yeah,
You see them
no.
in marshes. You don't see them
Yeah.
on beaches and stuff.
Yeah, and even like you do see like you can see them on beaches sometimes. Like I know in Florida, California, stuff like that. People will see them on the beach, but I'm just like it just doesn't work for me.
Okay, Florida is not a real place, first of all.
Honestly, no. I need to get down there,
Yeah,
man.
no.
It's ridiculous. Like there's just like white ibises in a McDonald's parking lot. It's stupid.
Dude, they've got like bobcats walking up to them
I
all the
know. I
time.
think I might get that spot and go down there and see that cat, to be honest. Because I would love to. They just walk
I
right
don't
by
have
people.
that spot.
I don't
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
have it right
exactly.
now, but I think I could very easily get it if I needed
Oh
to.
yeah, me too. I know a few people, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's just like mountain lions down there. Those are not easy to get, but they're there. There's just snowy egrets in like a random ditch on the side of the road. It's ridiculous. It's stupid, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
so how many shots have you posted from their trip? You posted that small in frame one.
Um, one.
One. Okay. So this is
One.
segueing into our next topic, the main theme. Oh boy, we already spent a lot of time talking. I just I just the time just ran away from me. It's like 8:12 already. Holy cow. Okay, so talking about the main theme that we wanted to talk about, social media. Starting off, how would you describe the role that photography plays in your life? Because I use it, I just really like animals and I use it as a way to interact with animals. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so do you just use it as like a stress
So
reliever or something along
yeah,
those
for
lines?
sure.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Dude, it's like I'm gonna be honest, like on some real shit. That's like the last thing I'm like looking forward to at the end of the day or at
Yeah.
the end of a week. I'm like, finally I could go shoot, you know?
Hmm.
And it's been a few weeks since I've been out. It's just like just can't wait to go shoot for the fun of it. You know, I
Exactly.
post. I want to make a little bit of buck on the side, but I'm not expecting it to become my main source of income anytime
Hmm.
soon.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's definitely I go out in nature, stress relieving,
Hmm.
but it's also causing me a little bit of like frustration, I guess, with the lens and stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, I work multiple jobs. Well, I used to
Yeah,
afford
yeah.
photography. It's kind
Hmm.
of like counterintuitive. Um, it goes side like back and forth. Like it's like it stresses me, I guess, but it's also stress reliever.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, I do it for fun, so
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
take it
gotcha.
pretty chill.
Yeah, um I'm kind of the same way, it's just always been it's the same thing like back in high school specifically is like the only thing I look forward to. I'd be like, yes, this weekend I'm gonna go photograph snowy owls. And like I would just
Yeah.
be laser focused on that all the
Mm-hmm.
way through the school week. And it is something that I am looking at making, one of my main source. Well, originally it was making it my main source of income. Now I've been looking at some other kind of entrepreneurial things. I did not say that word right at all. But I've been looking at, like possibility like e-commerce and stock trading and stuff because I feel nervous about putting all of my weight on wildlife photography as a like I will be a professional wildlife photographer, end of story, like that's happening, but I feel nervous about putting all of my weight and supporting myself on wildlife photography because I don't want to put so much weight on it that I don't enjoy it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what Alex was telling me. Like, once it becomes your job, it's not as fun.
Yeah, and but I want it like I want it to be a job. I mean, it's still like
Me too.
a
Me
year
too.
ago, if you asked me, I'd be like, yeah, main source of income, only a wildlife photographer. Now I'm
Same.
thinking about still happening, absolutely, but I'm looking at running some other businesses and stuff on the side because if I can make a lot of money through stock trading and other businesses and then also run like I could use that capital to run crazy workshops and fucking I don't know with snow leopards and crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to grind my way out to
Dream.
like doing like shorebirds because I wanted to do my basic plan was transfer because I work full time doing assembly for ion implanters right now, which is um, not outdoors to say the least. I'm in like a factory
Yeah.
building electronic components. I've talked about that on the show before. But what I wanted to do is slowly transfer over from my job to doing like shorebird workshops and really grinding those out and doing like moose workshops and stuff locally. But I've thought about maybe transitioning from my current job and then doing some, workshops, obviously starting to do those, but then kind of trying to transition over to some other kind of business plan and then use that capital to really kind of build out a more relaxed wildlife photography life, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it can be tough to maintain the if you put too much pressure on it, it can be tough to maintain the joy that it brings you. But speaking of that as well, what's your relationship with social media like? You know, how much what role does it play in your life?
So it's like the last thing I think of when I take
Hmm.
a good picture. I'm like, wow, I want to like print that.
Hmm.
I'm gonna save it on my phone,
Yeah.
show my friends, and that's the end of the line for me, right? And then I'm like,
Hmm.
I want to sell prints. Maybe I should post it. And then there's a shot I really like, right? I post it, and it does bad, and I'm like, wow, I don't like the shot anymore. Like, it's not like I don't like the shot anymore. It's almost like
Yeah.
I regret posting it, and I would just feel bad about it. I'm like, wow, no one likes it,
Okay.
and it doesn't kill the love I have for it.
Yeah.
Often, actually, it's kind of the opposite sometimes. But that's one of the main reasons I don't post, and it's time consuming, even if it's just like write a caption and stuff.
Hmm.
Because I did the test. My turtle shot, the backlit one.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that
I
one.
posted it, and I didn't go interact with other photographers, right?
Hmm.
60 likes,
Yeah.
right? And then I did my usual plan on a super small end frame that I know Instagram would, didn't like that much. I
Hmm.
went to go interact, do my usual stuff, which takes hours, by the way. Like you go like, oh, comment on these people,
Yep. Yep.
like them, like their stuff back. People follow you, follow them back,
Hmm.
post on your story other people's content so they do the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did fairly okay for a small end frame.
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, it's just the time consuming part that I don't like. It's glued to your phone. It's like my screen time goes up like 200%.
Oh, my
And
screen time is horrific. It is so bad.
it's very good now. Now that I don't post, it's actually
It's
very
great.
good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the
Well,
chats. I talk a lot, but that's
mhm.
about it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about this because I know this is something a lot of photographers in general or artists, whatever, but wildlife photographers, since that's the kind of cohort we're talking about, I know they struggle with this a lot. It's like, I know people who will post a shot and if it doesn't do good, they genuinely don't like it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
don't go that far. I love my shots.
I used to feel a similar way. If I posted it, it didn't do good. I'm like, okay, people don't like this, whatever. I would
Mm.
use people don't like this, and I did something wrong. It's a bad shot, or whatever, blah blah blah. But I was able to completely detach myself from that. I think it was mainly after the fact that I had um started to evolve my own style, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I started to
Mm-hmm.
change, like really focus on my style, improving my images and producing images that I like in a very decisive way. I wasn't just going out and randomly taking photographs. And when I got to that point, I realized, okay, well, 95% of the people on whatever platform, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, whatever you're on, aren't going to appreciate this style of shot that I've intentionally curated, and I'm fine with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've learned to accept that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Like you
that's the
work
best
hard for a
way.
shot, you have a vision, it turns out nice, and you
Mm-hmm.
know people won't like it, and you just like fuck it, I like the shot, and at the end of the day, I think that matters more.
Exactly. But I think a big part of that is knowing for a fact the amount of dedication and planning that went into it and skill at the end of the day. I mean,
Hmm.
you have to know, like before it was a random shot that I'd post of a horrific like Fisher cat image per se, right? And I post that and it wouldn't do good. I'm like, damn, it's not a good shot because I'm right. It was a terrible image. It just wasn't
Hmm.
good and
Hmm.
people shouldn't like it because it was bad. But now, if I post a small and frame silhouette of a hummingbird that has a lot of texture in it, that's really kind of moody and colorful, I know a lot of people may not like this, but it was intentionally curated. And the people that I bypassed it, privately, like I asked them, how do you feel about this shot? They said they like it. So I feel good about it, regardless of how it's accepted. If it's accepted good, great. That makes me feel good. If it's accepted poorly, whatever. Don't mind. I don't really care. But that's something that people struggle with. It's something that people really have a difficult time with, and they kind of derive the value of their images from how many likes they get. And I'm not really sure why that is, you know?
It's like a mental combat almost. It's like you get a balance between the love you have for your pictures and
Hmm.
how much other people's love will affect yours, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And I mean, also, it's important because with my mindset, it's you have to be careful not to become delusional, right? Because then you start posting images that I mean, yeah, I don't actually believe in objective good or bad images, but you post like someone if they think they're always right and because their shot took skill means it's good, they can start to post some questionable images. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think it's important to be careful of that. So usually what I'll do is I will send it privately to someone and get intentional advice, but someone I know is going to give me good advice on that image, not someone who's like it needs to be someone who cuz I shoot a lot of different styles of images. It needs to be somebody who I know is going to actually accurately appreciate that style and be able to give me usable feedback on that. So if I take
Mm-hmm.
a small and frame silhouette, I don't know if you have a similar process, but if I take a small and frame silhouette and then I show it to someone who does bird on a stick portraits, they're going to be like, it's okay, whatever. They're going to say, I don't really like it. If I show it to someone who really likes that style of work, they're going to give me adequate feedback. And the other way, if I get a clean shot of a warbler on a stick and I show it to a more creative silhouette motion blur person, they're gonna be like, it's basic as fuck, get rid of it, right? You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
I think it's important. I don't know how do you usually go about getting advice, because I think it's important to curate who you're getting advice from for certain images.
Exactly. I'm big on honesty, bro. When
Hmm.
when when people in the chat ask for, feedback,
Yeah.
I remember I won't name drop, but I gave someone like some feedback. It was nothing mean.
Hmm.
Maybe it might have sounded passive aggressive or something.
Yeah.
And then I asked for feedback like a while later. He copied and pasted my exact message and he got like pretty mad. I was like, damn, I mean, shit, I didn't mean to like hurt you or whatever, but it's like you
Yeah.
gotta learn who is honest with you. And I kind of like through the testing, like I found
Hmm.
there's a group of people, and I
Yeah.
haven't been asking you much, but you're definitely in that group.
Hmm.
And it's just like you're straight to the point, honest, and you have constructive criticism.
Yeah.
It's not just always bad, It's
It
you have your
sucks. Get rid of
reason,
it.
and
Format the card.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. I it's I think why people get upset about people giving negative reviews on their work is people will tie their self-worth into how good of a photographer they are, and when you attack their work, you're attacking their view of the image and kind of their view of their self-worth. Did that make sense?
Yep.
So it's like if I have an image and I think it was let's say, also to throw icing on top of the cake, it's an image I really like, so it's kind of my view of what is good, right? And also is a really good experience. So I have a lot of emotional connection and it's kind of setting my standard of image. If I send that to a chat of people, a group of people, or even just a person, and I ask, hey, what are your thoughts on this? They say, no, I don't really like it. That means my standards aren't good enough for that person. That's an attack on my photography. Screw that person. They're mean. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think detaching from that is important. And also that's where my philosophy of subjective quality has helped a lot, because if somebody doesn't like my image, and I would argue this is just like an objective fact, it doesn't mean they have higher standards than I do. They may have higher standards in a specific section. So like let's say if I send an image and someone says, "Oh, I don't really think that's sharp enough." Yeah, they might have higher standards of sharpness, but then I may have higher standards of light. So if they send an image and they're like, "What do you think of this one?" I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't love how the light is." They may have a lower standard for the quality of light that they'll accept, and so on and so forth. I think it's
Yeah.
important to remember that. And that's why I think it's important to get curated specific advice, not just get advice from yes men that are going to tell you everything is great. But if I have someone I know who's honest and I have a shot that is their style or something that I feel they would like, I'll send it to them. And, if they say no, then I know it's probably something I should work on to achieve that goal of the photograph that I want, right? Because, I know they're going to have a similar vision to me. So I'm going to want to get advice from somebody who's going to help me get as close to the highest quality product as I can, you know?
Well said. Really. Yeah.
That just all came to me randomly. I've been thinking these thoughts for a long time, and I haven't been able to
Yeah,
put them into words because I've been trying to explain to people why they may get offended when somebody doesn't like their work. But also, I mean, I think even in general, I think we've created in photography such a overly positive, well, not overly positive, but overly affirming culture where saying something negative about somebody's work results as an overall negative comment on that person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody, I mean, I guess also I'm not a huge fan of undisclosed public criticism, but I think as a culture, we need to be able to give actual honest feedback, but not like mean feedback. Some people will say, "Oh, I'm just giving honest feedback. I think your portfolio sucks and you should quit photography." Like, no, that's not valid
That's
either.
not constructive. Yeah.
It's just criticism and it's not even good, right? But but it's I think we need to create a culture where people can post an image and say, "Hey, what are your thoughts about this?" And be like, "I don't really like the light on it, personally. That's just me. I do like this X, Y, and Z. I would or wouldn't post it for your portfolio. And I think that's also something important to mention too. I'll get to that in a second, but I would or wouldn't post it. Those are my thoughts. And I think we need to, instead of getting offended about that and tying our self-worth as a photographer into that image and defending that image, we need to be able to go, okay, let me get opinions from two or three other people. If they all have, the same or similar opinions and they all create work that you want to aspire to create, might be a good idea to tank the shot, right? Or make changes that they requested. Um, but yeah, also it's important when you're giving advice to kind of specify what they should change, because some people will just say, "Oh, it's good" or "it's bad," and they won't really elaborate on that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. So I think it can be good, but like, I don't know, it can just be a minefield, like people just stop posting and just stop doing photography. I feel like because of social media pretty often.
I mean, I feel like that's okay. So, like I said, I've strayed away from that. I don't
Yeah.
even shoot anymore to post. I shoot for fun and I
Uh-huh.
post when I want to.
Yeah.
So I think I would say, oh, everyone should think like that, but some people need to post, keep their
Hmm.
engagement up. Maybe it's their job, maybe they make money off of it.
Yeah, that's
So
important.
I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the like rush and criticism comes from, right? You work hard
Hmm.
for it. You have to keep up, and then you want to post something, and someone tells you, "Hey, man, it's not that good." You're like,
Yeah, that's
shit.
it's
I
the
worked hard for
worst.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
I
tough.
think
I
I
mean,
think that's where it comes from.
yeah, it's difficult. It's that feeling also it's really difficult when you have that tied encounter, like how the experience was really good. If the experience was good, it's super painful if somebody tells you it's not good.
Yeah.
But I think it's just tying back to kind of straying away from this idea of objective quality and somebody making a criticism, meaning they have higher quality standards than you do. And I think that might just be where it comes from. Like somebody will say, "Oh, if somebody says they don't like your image, that means you're not good enough of a photographer and you're not up to their standards." And that's where I think those internalized thoughts might get crazy. And people just need to be able to have that discussion, be like, "No, I don't think you're a bad photographer. I just don't like this particular shot for X, Y, and Z." But even if they don't get bad criticism, I feel like if people just get low engagement or low followers, they just don't have any like self-worth as or self confidence as a photographer. Like if it doesn't do good, they just complain, and I don't like blaming the algorithm that much for how an
Oh, I
image
find
does.
myself blaming it all the time.
Everybody blames the algorithm big
I
time.
know
I
it's a bad thing I have. I do that too.
well, it's not just you, it's most people. I'm not trying to call you out. It's a big thing I
No,
notice.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I try not to. There's very, very rare, only time I'll maybe think the algorithm played a little bit. And once again, like I don't really care enough, right? So I do think on one of my recent Bobcat images, it was a black and white. I thought it was pretty good, and given how my audience usually responds to those similar types of images, I thought it was gonna be doing good, and then did bad. I don't really care. Well, it didn't do bad. It did okay, but it was doing slow in the beginning. I think that might have been an algorithm issue just due to the historical interactions that similar images have gotten on my page. So that was one point where I feel like the algorithm might have kind of interfered with that. But usually I don't think it is the algorithm. It's like usually now, if you post an image and it doesn't do good, doesn't mean it's bad. But I think you have to recognize if you have a follower base, right? A certain follower base, and you post an image that doesn't align with what that follower base usually aligns with, it's not going to do as well, right? It just isn't. And I think the algorithm can play into an image doing really good. I think if you have an image that's really Instagram made for Instagram, it's like a portrait and it's, a cool animal like
I
an owl.
remember. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna mention how there's like those Instagram animals almost. It's like owls, foxes, gray owls.
Yeah.
It's like immediately
Great Gray Owl get their
your
own
those
category.
yeah, and
Yeah.
tropical birds, you know? You see all those
Red
shots with
deer.
the colorful.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the algorithm can help there, right? But I find
Hmm.
people will be blaming the algorithm when a lot of the times it's just like the, the audience base probably just didn't align with the post. Like sometimes I'll post an image, it doesn't do good. I'll kind of analyze that, be like, okay, well, what's wrong with it? And not wrong, but what didn't align? And usually it's like, okay, well, it's a smaller frame silhouette. That's not traditional. And this is something I ran into a lot when I shifted from my snapshot style of going out and randomly taking images over to my more curated style a couple years back. When I started posting more artistic, more curated images of common species, my likes kind of went down because my follower base was originally based on cool animals and terrible lighting and stuff, right? Now that I had shifted
Yeah.
that, my likes took a hit until I kept posting that. And now my follower base started to adjusting more to that. And now they do really good. Those images do really good because that's what my follower base is based off of. But I find people will be, and maybe if you post it and it doesn't do good, maybe it is just a bad shot, right? Not in an objective sense. I know someone's gonna take that, clip that, and be like, "Oh, you think there's a no," right? Not in an objective sense, but like in a societal sense, like yeah, we can agree some shots are just not good, and maybe it just isn't good. Maybe there's just something wrong with it, and you just really like that shot, and you kind of made a fumble on your part. And sure, that's part of it, but that doesn't make you a bad photographer. But yeah, I usually try to stray away from blaming the algorithm, but usually I just find it's just either the person didn't post at the right time, so it just didn't go to any of their followers. If you post like 2 a.m., you're not going to get a lot of likes. Or it just didn't align with their follower base that much. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I want to touch back on you said a while ago, like how the experience can make you like a shot more.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly why I posted that small in frame rather than the portraits,
Yeah.
just because it's the only time you face the water, and that's what I had envisioned.
Yeah.
Like, the shot has to have meaning for you. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but you know.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why sometimes you'll choose to post a shot that will do worse. And then I had people literally message me. They're like, "Why would you post this one? You have better." And I'm like, "Yeah, but this one means more to me, you know."
Wait, people said that?
I had two people say, "Oh, didn't you get like tighter shots?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's out of
I'm like,
pocket.
I like.
If you like
Yeah,
it,
I
you
mean,
like
no,
it. Yeah.
the way they said it, it was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
I
All
think I'm
right. All
making
right.
it sound worse than it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I do want to.
Um,
Oh yeah. No, keep going. Keep going.
no, I was done.
You done? Okay. One thing
I
I
was
do want
done.
to
I was done.
clarify.
Sorry.
I did say we may be making a culture of false positivity and false acceptance of shots. But it's uh I think it's important to stray away from public criticism, unsolicited public criticism, right? I think if you are
Mhm.
going into people's artwork in their comment sections and being like, this sucks because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm such a good photographer, like you just need to shut up. Like, go away. That's not cool. Right. So I do want to clarify I wasn't talking about that because I see that happen and it's just like, dude, that's not okay. I find for me personally, something I struggle with is giving advice. I feel really bad if I give
Oh yeah, same.
somebody advice, even if it's like
Yeah.
reasonable,
Mhm.
politely put advice. I usually will find myself not giving advice if I don't like the image. But if I really like an image, I will give tons of advice. I'll be like, do this,
It's
do this,
so
do this, do
funny.
this. But like
It's
if I don't
so
love it,
funny.
I'm like, if I think it's a bad shot, I just won't say anything. Or I'll be like, that's a really
Yeah.
cool animal. Like that's my go-to. usually, you know.
Yeah. Dude, that's like when there's like a 9 out of 10 shot, I'll be like really pushing for that 10. I'm like, oh, you should have improved on this,
Yes,
this,
yes,
that. And
exactly. Same here.
if it's like a 6 out of 10 shot, you know, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. You're doing great.
Mhm.
You're getting better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, exact same thing, man.
Yeah. No, if it's like if it's super close, I will just be like, you know,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you should do this. This is such a crazy shot. And then the person gets annoyed. They're
And
like,
it's
dude,
already crazy.
it's already
Yeah.
crazy, but you could see that
Yeah.
little push they could add could make it so
Mm-hmm.
much better. And then you just keep giving advice, and then they get annoyed because they're like, dude, this is too much stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's just a really good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have that issue. And then yeah, if it's like a 7 out of 10, I'll be like, that's cool. Like post it. You know, it's good. Also I think it's important with a when you're giving advice to somebody that you kind of tailor that to their portfolio. Does that make sense? So like if
Yep.
it's a let's say because a 7 out of 10 overall is pretty good, but a 7 out of 10 can be different on different people's portfolios, right? A 7 out of 10 on a professional, insane, creative wildlife photographer's page would be a 1 million out of 10 on someone who takes snapshot images. You know what I'm saying? And then just
I
kind of
agree.
accidentally got it or tried to put the effort in to get it. So if it was like let's say it's a backlit elk bugling with breath, right? There, if it was on if someone I have really high expectations for and they're a really good photographer, I'd be like, okay, well, here's a flaw there, here's a flaw there. It's pretty decent. But if some random kid that I kind of barely talk to comes out with it, I'm like, dude, this is sick. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to tailor because sometimes people will just give advice in a general sense. So then the people trying to improve get really demotivated because the person giving them advice isn't giving them advice in a general sense of like, oh, you know, this is really good for your portfolio for what you have right now. It's just like, oh, this is not that great because they're comparing it in an overall objective sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. One thing I want to mention real quick. We're getting close to the end. So before we round it up, do you find that social media affects your own goals in wildlife photography? And then do you find that it affects how you shoot in field?
Yeah, I made this really stupid mistake like just recently.
Oh yeah.
It was on the short trip actually. Now I think
Hmm.
about it. No, it wasn't. It was on my short spot. The one I have to drive up to. And I'm like, oh shit, this is a cool creative shot. I'm gonna have low percent chance of getting it. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just get the Instagram shot for the likes. I like literally thought that, and I changed
Yeah.
positions. I'm like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this looks like every other shot I've taken. You know,
Yeah.
like bro, I shouldn't have done that. And uh, for the rest of that day, I was like,
Why
no,
did I do that?
forget Instagram. Yeah, why did I even think about that?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got you.
it
Yeah,
happened,
it
but
happens. It does. I find it's for me it's less of the likes with reels and stuff. Yeah, if I'm trying to get a video, I'm like, yeah, I want to get this for the real like so I can
mhm.
blow up and get like 200,000 followers. But if I find that I change my style to not appease or get the respect of, but to emulate other photographers and to an extent get their respect. Does that make sense? I'll be like, if I get this shot, this is like a really good version. It's similar to so and so's version of the shot. And I want to emulate that to God, it sounds really shitty when I'm saying it out loud. It's like I want to get the respect of other photographers, basically. Man, that sounds really dumb when I say it out loud. But does that make sense? Like,
Yes, yeah, it does.
because on one hand, like,
And when you say that, like try to reach to other branches of photography and such,
mhm,
like you know, I plan my posts a lot. It's kind of
yeah,
like a bad thing,
mhm,
but I'll name you the types of shots. Like now I just posted a small in frame. My next one
mhm,
is a high key. Then
yeah,
it's a mammal portrait. Then it's a
mhm,
long exposure. Then it's a drone shot. Like do you know like there's like I'm trying, like I'm really trying to not have two portraits in a row, not two birds in a
oh,
row,
really?
not two insects in a row. Like
Huh?
I really plan it out to reach more people and vary my feed. I hate clicking on a really talented photographer
Yeah,
and seeing four shots from the same moment. Like not just like the same bird, same setting, the
yeah,
same moment. I'm
yeah,
like, that's good, man, but hey, it's the same thing over and over and you do you. But
hmm
I don't know. I feel like when people would click on my profile, I'd love it if they were like, "Wow, this guy has variety."
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really try to diversify what's in my portfolio as well. I will almost never post back to back same species. Um I will usually, if it's a really cool encounter, like with my bobcats, I broke it up with a deer. But even when I got crazy bobcat encounter, I still didn't post back to back bobcats because I just don't love posting the same thing, back to back. I have a similar
And
thing
you
as you
can't
do.
saturate your followers with the same stuff either. Like they'll comment on it the first time, half of them will comment on it the second time, and
Hmm.
just wait a few months, post it again. They're like, "Wow, I remember this. You did great," or
Yeah.
"This is a good series. Keep it up."
But if you
You
post it
can't be
one after
constantly
the other,
saying,
then people get tired of it real quick.
"Yeah, exactly."
I was talking to Alex about this, and I find it like if you post in a carousel on Instagram,
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
issue is it's like one of those shots is the best. They can all be good, but one of them it shines out, one or two usually. And that shot in this scenario outshines all the other ones. And when they're, at least in my opinion, when they're placed together in a collection like that, the other
it
ones
makes the other ones look.
completely lose
Yeah.
their value. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you
Yeah.
post them because I have bobcat shots, I have enough that there's like three or so I'd say that outshine the other ones, and they're different enough to not compete with each other. But I got a bunch of them, and if I'd post them all in carousel, everyone would have forgotten about all of them except for the
That's
handful.
so
And
true. That
and
is
even the
so
good
true.
ones, it's taking even the good ones. The bad ones are still siphoning its value away from it, right? Its impact
Mm-hmm.
away from that image. So your main shot, it's getting value taken away from that, and it's just crushing all the other shots, and no one's going to remember the other ones. So at least this is my experience and my personal opinions on it. It's fine if you do carousels. I'm not trying to shit on you. So like, I'm not trying to shit on anyone who does carousels. Don't worry. But I'm just saying, for my personal opinion, if someone, like, let's say someone posts a bunch of images, 7 images of a snake in a carousel. I scroll through it. I'm like, okay, that one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. That one's great. Holy cow. Okay, that one's mid. That one's all right. And it's just like I kind of remember the really good one, and then the other ones are just like, nah. And then I don't remember any of them. But if you post the really good environmental, and then you post a texture shot 2 months later from the same encounter, it's like fair. It makes it more memorable. That's just for me. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But
And like like dude, the thing I don't see enough in wildlife would be like, it's so tacky. It's like, oh, trying to be different again. But it's the wide angle stuff. You
mhm,
always see those type portraits on your explore page.
yeah.
So I feel like when you hit, you shouldn't put it as your second slide. Put
Mhm,
that as your first slide, and then it's different and it's special.
yeah.
That's how I see it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I saw there was a post today that I saw actually when it was a carousel, and they posted a shot that was okay. And then the second shot was wild. Like it was really cool. I'm not wild, but it was different. Like I'd never seen a shot like it. And then the rest of the shots were all right. And it's like, okay, well, like it made me feel like, oh, it shouldn't have been there. It should have been at the front. And I feel like each kind of shot needs their own pedestal to stand on. I think it's okay. Like Alex will do an images in a series, so he'll do like the splash series, but he'll post them all separately. You know what I'm saying? For the most
Yep.
part.
Yeah.
If I have an image, maybe if it's two images that are almost identical, except for a different foot position or like a couple seconds apart, maybe I will post them in a carousel. But for the most part, I usually tend to not do that. But yeah, so I think that's most of the questions I had. I think it's an important discussion because so many people get sucked into it, and all the wildlife photographers are on social media pretty much.
I'm so glad we relate though on the feedback stuff
Oh,
and like
I'm the
criticism.
exact same way, man. If
Dude,
it's
the exact same.
if it's a
And
good shot, I will not shut up for 20 minutes. I'm like, do this and that and that
that's
and
what
that.
I'm saying.
it, well,
Dude, bro, like 2 centimeters lower, you had a
it,
golden man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's funny too because then it makes people feel like the shot is bad because they feel like there's so much wrong with it. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to because it's amazing and it can be so much better
Yeah.
with just move it all a little bit to the right and then turn the tint up 2 points. And then you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
And a lot of the time it's things you would miss in the field. So that's why I
oh,
like getting other people's view. Because when you see a shot like point blank for the first time ever,
Hmm.
It's not gonna be the same as me who took the picture, looked at it on the back of the screen, put it on my computer, edited it, put it on my phone, sent it to the GC, right?
Yeah.
You might see a flaw I haven't seen or the editing or
Hmm.
whatnot. It's always that first glance, and like the thing I've been struggling with a lot is like placing the horizon not to cross the head, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you tell people that, that's something I wish I was told earlier,
Hmm.
and you don't see it in the field, and then once you notice it, you learn.
Yep. And it's a huge thing too with post processing because, man, like sometimes you can edit a shot and if you don't pass it by somebody, you can post the most baked image ever. Like it
Yeah, I've
might
done
just
that.
be
Yeah.
bombed and horrific, and you post it, and then like you don't ask for advice beforehand. And honestly, I've seen sometimes like this can lead to the degeneration of a photographer's entire portfolio. Like if they completely cut themselves off from feedback, you just see it slowly decay over time into a really less than ideal editing style. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's important to get advice from people you respect too. I think that's important because if you don't, I don't mean respect them as a person, but just respect their work. If you don't like their work, don't get advice from them. And that sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't follow this. It's like people will get advice from somebody, especially like I think this really applies to group settings. I don't think, generally speaking, you should be asking for specific advice in a general group setting. I think if you ask for general thoughts on an image, like, hey, is this image good or bad? Sure, maybe, just get a general consensus if you're on the fence about it, but you're going to get so many different opinions that it's not even worth it, right? Like I know in group chats that I'm in and that you're in, I'll send an image at, let's say, 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and two out of five people that respond say it's good. One person says it's okay, and then the other two people say they don't like it. I'll post that image 3 days later, and a completely different response due to the people that are active.
Yeah.
It's not even worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you post an image. I used to have a pretty big ego back a couple years ago because of my photography, and then that collapsed after I went into college. I realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was. But but basically, I would put an image in the chat and be like, "What do you guys think of this?" And then this kid that like a kid whose work I didn't even like would be like, "I don't like it," and then I would get all hurt. I wouldn't say I was never vocal about this, but mentally like, you know what? What do you know about photography? Blah 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 blah. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think it's
I
important to
think
stay
a
humble.
great way to say it. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Stay humble. And
Hmm.
the great tip I say I would like give right now is surround yourself with who you want to like you aspire to become.
Yeah.
People you like their work,
Hmm.
and give the advice you wish you were given. I
Hmm.
think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a
Cause
great.
like just like man, like yeah, okay, maybe it sounds harsh when I tell you like what I'm thinking, but if I wasn't telling you that, I'd be lying to myself and you.
Hmm.
Um, that's how I see it, man. And just like surround yourself with who you want to become and who you trust and aspire to be.
That's a really good insight. And that's just good life advice in general. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it applies to every field. Like if you want to be an entrepreneur, surround yourself with entrepreneurs and you will become a successful entrepreneur. And similarly, if I want to become this kind of photographer and do this kind of style, surround yourself with those people, get in contact with those people, and you're going to get advice that's going to fulfill that style, right? And yeah, that's a great piece of advice. You don't get advice from, especially don't get advice from like, well, okay, if if it's your job, get advice from non-photographers, right? Like, yeah. But if you're just doing it for fun for social media, which is 95% of people, don't go to like if your like mom or your aunt's not a photographer, don't go to her and be like, what do you think of this image? Like it's not, does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, if you're trying to sell, and then this is just my opinion. If you're trying to sell, obviously, yeah, you need to take that into account. If you're doing anything that has to relate with non-wildlife photographer people, yeah, you need to interact with people to see how it's received by people who aren't in the wildlife photography field. But if you're just sharing with other wildlife photographers, like if your dad or your uncle's like, I don't like that image, it's just a boring bird, like who cares? Like don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to people whose advice you're actually going to like value. Take advice from people whose portfolio you want to emulate, not anyone whose portfolio you wouldn't, or anyone who doesn't have a portfolio.
Exactly what I'm trying to say. I think that's how we end it. That's perfect.
That's sweet. That's awesome. Well, thank you for
That's
coming on.
really,
That was a
of course,
blast, man.
anytime.
That was nice.
Dude,
That
that was
was
actually
actually
great.
that was great. That was more
We share the same values. It was great.
yeah, the feedback thing 100%. But thank you for coming on.
Hmm.
We definitely have you on again. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'm going to actually try in the future to get these episodes out faster. There's some people I really want to get on that aren't photographers, but they work with wildlife, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode.